You never know how close someone is to breaking. Sometimes it happens in a quiet place, under bright lights, while the world keeps moving like nothing is wrong. One small moment of kindness can change everything or reveal a truth far bigger than anyone expected. This story begins on an ordinary weekday, inside an ordinary store, with a man no one recognized and a young cashier who was trying very hard not to fall apart. Before we begin, if you enjoy heartfelt stories that remind you of the power of compassion, please subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Kindness Story Hub, where every story is a reminder that kindness still matters. Ethan Carter was the CEO of a nationwide retail chain with over 300 stores across the United States. His name appeared in business magazines, but his face wasn't widely known. At 46, Ethan had built his company from the ground up, starting with one small storefront and a loan he barely qualified for. He believed in hard work, discipline, and efficiency, but lately, something felt off. Customer complaints were rising. Employee turnover was climbing. On paper, profits looked fine, but Ethan sensed a deeper problem. So he did something he hadn't done in years. He went undercover. No suit. No assistants. Just a plain jacket, worn jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low. On a cold Tuesday morning, Ethan walked into one of his mid-sized stores in Ohio, pretending to be just another customer killing time before work. At first, everything looked normal. Clean aisles. Soft music. Shoppers pushing carts. But as he approached the checkout area, he noticed something that stopped him. One of the cashiers was crying. She couldn't have been more than 23. Her name tag read Lena. She kept wiping her cheeks quickly, glancing around to make sure no one noticed. Her hands trembled as she scanned items for the customer in front of her, forcing a weak smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ethan slowed down. He watched from a distance as the customer walked away without saying a word. The moment the register cleared, Lena leaned forward, gripping the counter like it was the only thing holding her up. Ethan felt a tightness in his chest. He joined her line. When it was his turn, Lena didn't look up at first. She scanned his items in silence. Ethan gently said, "Hey, are you okay?" Lena froze. Her eyes filled instantly, like that question opened a door she'd been desperately holding shut. She shook her head and whispered, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be like this at work." "You're human," Ethan said softly. "That's allowed." She swallowed hard and forced herself to keep scanning. "Your total is $18.47. Ethan paid, but instead of leaving, he stepped aside and waited. A few minutes later, when the line was empty, he approached again. "I don't want to cause trouble," he said, "but if something's wrong here, someone should know." Lena hesitated. She glanced toward the manager's office, then back at Ethan. Her voice dropped. "Things aren't just wrong. They're bad." Ethan listened as Lena explained. Her mother was sick. Hospital bills were piling up. Lena had asked for one extra shift per week, just one, but her manager, Rick, refused. Worse, Rick had been cutting her hours and writing her up for tiny mistakes. Last week, he threatened to fire her because she'd been 2 minutes late, 2 minutes after staying up all night at the hospital, and today, Lena said, tears spilling again, "He told me if I miss one more day, I'm gone. No matter why." Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's not all," Lena added, her voice shaking. "He yells at us in front of customers. He makes jokes about people who can't handle real life. Yesterday, he told me crying is a sign of weakness." At that moment, things got worse. Rick walked out of his office. He was a tall man with a sharp voice and a permanent scowl. He looked straight at Lena and snapped, "Why are you standing around? You think tears make the line move faster?" Lena flinched. Ethan felt anger rise, but he kept his voice calm. "Excuse me," he said. "There's no need to speak to her like that." Rick laughed. "And who are you? Her lawyer?" "Just a customer," Ethan replied. "One who believes basic respect matters." Rick scoffed. "If she can't handle the job, she shouldn't be here." That sentence hung in the air. Other customers nearby had gone quiet. Lena's shoulders shook as she stared at the floor. Ethan took a slow breath. "Actually," he said, pulling off his cap, "I think it's time we talked. I'm Ethan Carter." Rick's face drained of color. "The CEO," Ethan continued. "Of this company." Silence. Rick stammered. Sir, I didn't know, that's the point, Ethan said. You didn't know who I was. Just like you don't seem to know what your employees are going through. He turned to Lena. I'm sorry. I should have seen this sooner. Rick was escorted to the office. HR was called immediately. Other employees began to speak up, stories pouring out that had been bottled up for months. Public humiliation. Schedule manipulation. Threats. Within an hour, Rick was suspended pending investigation, but Ethan wasn't finished. He sat with Lena in the break room. He listened, not as a CEO, but as a person. You shouldn't have to choose between your job and your family, he told her. That same day, Ethan approved paid emergency leave for Lena and adjusted her schedule long term. He covered her missed hours personally. He also announced a new company-wide policy: managers would be trained not just in performance, but in empathy. Word spread fast. The employees began to feel seen. Store morale shifted. Customer satisfaction followed. As for Lena, when she returned weeks later, she stood taller. She smiled again, not forced this time. She later became a supervisor herself, known for checking in on her team, especially on the hard days. Months later, Ethan received a handwritten letter. It was from Lena. She wrote that his kindness didn't just save her job. It saved her hope. That on the day she was crying at the register, she had felt invisible. And one simple question, "Are you okay?" had changed the direction of her life. Ethan kept that letter in his desk drawer because it reminded him of something easy to forget in boardrooms and spreadsheets: success means nothing if it costs our humanity. Kindness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers at a checkout counter. Sometimes it looks like listening. Sometimes it means standing up when someone else is too tired to stand on their own, and you never know who's watching or whose life might change because you chose compassion instead of silence. So the next time you see someone struggling, remember this story. A small act of kindness might be the moment that turns everything around. Let's keep spreading kindness together.